Alright, I'm going to try to make this a pretty quick video. I want to test the inverters on each one of these power stations. The Northpole Light, I literally had plugged in for 18 hours plus, and it still shows at 99% charged. That I do not like. But this is a test on the inverters that are in these machines. Each one supposed to have a 500 watt inverter. Now, I am using my Deco Chef portable ice maker here, well, countertop ice maker. You can see there's water in it. Now, I don't know what this is going to do with either one of these, since these only have a 500 watt inverter built in. And we're going to find out. I'm going to test this one first, which is my homeyears. I don't know if you can hear it. So, now, do I think this will create ice? I have no idea. If it does, it would probably take a very long time, since this only has a 500 watt inverter. But so far, the inverter seems to be handling everything. You can hear it. So, that has a really nice inverter built in. I've had no issues charging this. The only issue I've had with this one is the display here. Literally read 100% on my Arctic King chest freezer test, my 10-hour test. It literally read 100% for 3.5 hours. Then it dropped. And then it started showing the percentage. That I did not like. But the Northpole Light had to be off as well, because once I hit hour 9 on that, it dumped to 0% at hour 10 from 27%. This was much closer during the end of the test, and I can say that because the charging, this thing has been charging literally for 18 hours plus 22 hours, something like that. It is 8:37 in the morning on Monday, and I started charging that at what, 10:30 at night on Saturday. I mean, so that's over 24 hours. I mean, yeah. So definitely, it's been over 24 hours, definitely, and it's still showing 99%. Now, will either one of these actually make ice in this thing? I doubt it. You know, these take 9 minutes to run through a cycle, and I don't want to make this a 20-25 minute video, but it is powering it. It is running it. Now, what I may do is, unfortunately, I cannot just make this an 18-minute video running the test on these two. I do believe this one will trip off. I really do. Not only does this have more capacity, but I feel it is built much better than that one. Now, if you have stuff that's 12 volt, or running a computer or charging a laptop or charging phones or something, yeah, that'll work fine for you. But if you're planning on running stuff like a chest freezer, or I would even say mini fridge, this would be your best bet. I mean, does seem to be working. So, this has a very good power inverter built in. For a 500 watt inverter, I cannot tell you how many watts this uses. I'll have to figure it out. It is 115 1.5 amps, something like that, maybe a little bit higher. I would have to look on the back. I forgot. And I can't get the phone to read the tag. Give me just 1 second. Let me see if I can move this out so I can get the tag. I apologize for that. 115 volts, 1.7 amps, and 2 amps ice harvesting. So 115 at 2 amps. Alright. Give me a minute. And I'm going to go by the 115 at 2 amps. Now this only puts out 110, so it will be off a little bit, but if I do the 115 by 2 amps, it will give me the power requirements for this. Okay, so this actually uses 230 watts. 2 amps, 115 volts, 230 watts. Now, this only puts out 110 volts. So that's going to throw the numbers off. So let's do 2 at 110. 220 watts. So it's real close, of course. So we're figuring 230 watts. Now, each one of these has a 500 watt DC to AC power inverter in it. So if it handles it, and it seems to be handling this just fine, this one, the homeyears. Now what I'm interested in is to see if the Northpole Light, that's supposed to have a 500 watt inverter, can handle this as well. Because the homeyears is doing it without an issue. Alright, let's turn this off. Because like I said, I do not want to make this a long video. Yeah. Let's turn this off. Okay, on the Northpole Light, I did figure out to start this, it's a little, not really tricky, it's just something you'll have to tweak with here. Get in there. Hold the power button down. You see it come on? Then you have to hold your AC, USB, or DC down. See that? Alright, and you see this is at 98%. Because I did test this just a few minutes ago. And I'm like, this can't be right. So I'm going to get this on camera. Alright, so this pulls 230 watts at 2 amps on max at 115 volts. Once again, these put out 110 volt. That's going to throw the numbers off a little, but let's see what it does. Let's see if it can actually carry this. If it can't run this, and what I'll have to do is I'll have to wait, because right now it's just pumping water. But if it can't run this when it kicks, or if it shuts down, that'll be really depressing. Well, what do you know? AC just kicked off. It just kicked off. So the power inverter in this one is much, much better. This, I don't care what they say, there's no way in hell this is a 500 watt power inverter built into this. This has to be no higher than maybe a 250, maybe, for this not to be able to run this. There is no way in hell this inverter is a 500 watt inverter. If you're looking for a portable power station under $200. Look, even if you need a 12 volt port, watch my video on how to get the solar on here, and I talk about and show you how to get a 12 volt port on this one. This is $168, $199. This has more power. This has a better inverter. There's no way in hell that should have kicked off on this. Now, I'm going to do something else. I'm fixing it, and what gets me is this uses less power than something else I'm fixing to get. Where is it? Right there. 120, 60 hertz, 270 watt at 0 Celsius, 250 watt at 25 degrees Celsius. Alright. If it runs this but not this, there's something seriously wrong. I'm going to use this to dump the power completely. Now, understand that each one of these inverters is different. They're made by different people. Now, let's dump this power. Let's see how much it says it pulls. 315 watts. So we know it has at least a 300 watt power inverter in it. Why it will run this, but not this, is beyond me. I have no idea. Even though this has a massive kick in power when it starts to freeze the ice, it's only 115, 120 volts, 115 volts at 2 amps. This should have no issue with this. Now, I'm going to run this heater here until this dumps. I want this thing empty completely, and I'm going to try to recharge it again and see if it sticks at 99% again. For the money, which is the better deal? This one. For the power output, which one's better? This one. This one's cheaper, has a better inverter, and unfortunately, I would love to be able to talk good things about this, but I can't. I cannot recommend you buy one of these unless you're just renting petty stuff. I mean, it should have ran this. This ran it without an issue. And this is running my little heater here. It's hot. It's putting out hot air. But you can see the wattage. Because this puts out 110 volts, it's not 115, this is using, less power. But this did hit 300 something, and then it bumped down. And it's putting out hot air. Look at how fast this is going down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this heater on until this thing shows 0, until it shuts off. Then I'm going to let it sit a minute and then recharge it, which will take, oh God, who knows? Because 20 something hours, it was well over 24 hours, I believe. It was either 22 or 24 hours or over with this thing plugged in. This thing should literally charge fully in 8, maybe 9 hours max. But over 24 hours, there's no way. There is absolutely no way. I do know when I first plugged it in, the power box to it got so hot I couldn't touch it. So, better value, better battery, better inverter. You can buy one of these. They're $199.99 if you want. Or you can spend $168, I believe, right now. Still $168 on this one. Even if you have to add your own 12 volt port, one of those, is solar to this. This charges with a 90 watt panel. I did have it hooked up to a 100 watt panel. It did charge. I did have the panel over there in my window. You can watch the video on that, on the solar charging on this. I also told you how to hook up a 12 volt to this without having to cut any cables. It's just buying a couple things that are really cheap. Even the price added up for the solar cable, the USB port, the adapter that you need, everything you need, the wire, um, the little fittings, everything you need to get this just like this one, as far as the USB, not USB, excuse me, the 12 volt port, and to have solar charging. Everything you need for this one is still cheaper than this one without buying anything extra. Oh, it is, yeah, it is dumping power. Alright, I'm fixing to go. Which one, if you decide to buy one, look, I'm not telling you to buy anything or not. That's up to you. Running a chest freezer, my Arctic King, this one did a much better job. If you don't need a 12 volt port, this is a much better power station. It's better quality, has a better inverter. You just saw that. It has a better inverter. This was running my ice maker without an issue. This kicked off. The inverter on this one kicked off. Now we're already down to 94% power running this little heater. Does this have an issue? Absolutely. When I did my 10-hour test on my chest freezer here, the display read 100% for 3.5 hours, and then it started reading. That's an issue. But that had to be way off. I did take the readings hourly. When this went off 100% is when I started keeping track of the readings. This started falling almost immediately. But at hour 9 on this said 27%. At hour 10, it was at 0. This one still had power to spare. And the charging proved that. This takes 11 hours to charge, but it took me 8 to 8.5 hours to charge this up after the test of running my chest freezer, which means it still had plenty of power left in it. This was completely dead, and for whatever reason, you know, I understand these have different battery capacity, but not by much. This is a 515 watt hour, so it says. This is a 518 watt hour. There's not much difference there. If this still had another 2 hours runtime to run my chest freezer, that should have had at least another hour. It didn't. It barely scraped by the 10-hour test, and then when I went to charge it, 24 hours plus, and it just stayed at 99%. Look at this. This is already down to 93%. Running this. And it's only kicking out less than 200 watts on most times here. Does it work? Oh yeah, it's putting out some heat. But this over here actually puts out more heat through this heater. I've already tested that. I mean, I can feel the warmth right here. It's not an issue. It is putting out heat. This one runs it hotter. 92%. Like I said, I'm going to dump the battery on this one completely down, dead. Then I will recharge it, see what it says. I wanted to get an inverter test to see which one has a better power inverter. Obviously, it's this one. It did handle my Deco Chef ice maker. Will it make ice? I don't know. I probably should have left it plugged in, because it takes like 9-10 minutes or something like that to make the first batch of ice. I didn't want to make this video this long. Once again, I don't get paid by anyone if you buy something. All I can tell you is what I own, how well it works, how much I like it or dislike it. Honestly, the only good thing about this one is the 12 volt port. So far, this has been a disappointment in every way, shape, or form. The battery capacity test, running my chest freezer, the display itself not reading correctly, the inverter kicking off when it should be able to run something. This has been a complete disappointment. I don't really use this except for a backup power, either one of these, except for on my chest freezer. That's it. They are used for nothing else. And yes, I can get 8-9 hours out of this if it's fully charged. But if it won't fully charge, you know, you could get 7, maybe 8 or less. This, I went 10 hours with power to spare. So they were specifically purchased for one thing: running my chest freezer. That's it. So I can make it through a night, and then I can hook up my solar the next day, you know, when the sun's out. It's already down to 91%. Like I said, I'm going to leave this running. This is a inverter test on these power stations. Damn it, I'm already at 21 minutes. I apologize. Once again, I don't get paid from anyone. They did not send me anything for free. So I figured I'd let you know how well these work. If you need a power station for under $200, this one barely fits the bill because it's $199.99. Look at that. It is just wiping this battery dead. And that's what I need. I need that to hit 0 and shut down. If that hits 0, it may hit like 15-20% and shut itself down. I believe that's what it did on the test for the chest freezer. I'm not sure. Or the display was just wrong. This one is much better. Let's get that other piece of crap out of there. This one is much better value, a better deal, a better inverter. Has solar charging. I did have it hooked up to a 100 watt panel. I did try my 100 watt panel on that one and it shut it down. It would not take the power from 100 watts. It was too much for it. This one, I did have a 100 watt panel in the window and it did charge off that 100 watt panel. Better deal, better value, better inverter, better batteries. All around, this is just a better product than the Northpole Light. Alright, I'm fixing to go. I apologize. I said I would not do any other things on my power stations after I hooked up solar to this. But having an inverter built in, pure sine wave inverter, built into one of these is very important. And if it can't run things that it says it can run, this should have ran. I mean, there is no way this should not have run on this Northpole Light. But it shut down. It could not handle this at 230 watts. That handled it without issue. And we're already down to 89% on this, 88%. So you can see how fast that's drawing and killing itself at around 200 watts. It is just zapping the batteries completely out of that. Alright, I'm fixing to go. Like I said, I don't get paid if you buy any of these. If you want one of these or one like this because it has the phone charging, great. So be it, fine, whatever. But know that there are certain things, even under the 500 watt rating it says it's rated for on the inverter, that will not run. It cannot run it. Can't run this. And this is like 230 watts. This runs it without issue. So, if you want to purchase one of these, or any other type, there are a couple things you need to understand. First of all, if you are in the US or certain countries, make sure it outputs 60 hertz. That is very important. If you get one that's 50 hertz, it will have a 17% power drop. It will not run properly. Certain appliances or certain things you're trying to run with transformers, induction motors, it can burn them out if you have a 50 hertz power station running 60 hertz appliances. Second, make sure you read reviews and test this stuff yourself, or you know, watch YouTube videos that show some of these running. And a lot of these are basically bulk that they just put different names on. They could be the same power station with just a different name. I've seen several that look like this but had 3 plugs in the back instead of 2. So make sure you're getting the right one you want to get. Alright, I'm fixing to go. I apologize, another half-hour video. Once again, this is a test on the inverters, not the power stations themselves. I've already tested that. Not on runtime, I've tested that. This is on the power inverters inside these machines. Both of these should have ran this. This one shut down. Right here. It's shut down. Hear it? But this had no issue with it. Cheaper, better value. If you want a power station to run something like a chest freezer, look up the specs for my Arctic King chest freezer, or watch the video on when I got this and see the power usage, and then check it against yours to see how much difference in power yours uses compared to this. If yours uses the same amount as this Arctic King, you should have no issues running a chest freezer, home chest freezer, off of this. This, will it run? It did. It barely scraped by the 10 hour. I mean, literally at 10 hours it was dead. At 10 hours this still had power to spare. Plenty of power. Look at that, we're already down to 85%. And you hear it? Alright, I'm fixing to go. I apologize, another 30-minute video. This has a much better inverter built in. It is a much better product. It is better built. This, if you just need a cheap power inverter for running your computer, something like that, great. Go for it. That's all I can tell you. But that's more expensive. This is longer lasting. And you saw what happened with my ice maker. This ran it without an issue. That shut down. That one right there. The North Pole shut down. Alright, I'm fixing to go. Everyone have a good day. Bye.